Oh well, here's yet another Roblox Industrialist video with my wonderful voice. It'd be really funny if I actually had that turned off and I was just speaking into nothingness. Oh well, today's endeavor, I shall feed coke fuel over to the industrial fireboxes over here from the existing circuit on the other side of the map. Luckily, I sort of use it for mass export, i.e. it's already halfway done. The nice thing there is that it saves a lot of work. Downside is that if I ever end up over cap, I am SOL. Just gotta figure out approach angle. I'm thinking I'll feed it over this way and take the extra intersections so I can just have a direct impingement. That's not even the right word. What the fuck? Just a direct feed straight in, as I'm gonna need to use intersections irregardless of whether I go from the front side or the back side. If you're wondering why there's 6, it's because if my math is correct, these oxidation plants will produce enough liquid sulfur to get converted into sulfur trioxide, assuming I have the recipes in the right order anyways. Yeah, and then it goes into the firebox, gets turned into sulfur trioxide, which I then need to oxidize again into sulfur trioxide, which can then be converted into sulfuric acid with chemical reactors. If for some reason you're curious as to why I need to make all this sulfuric acid, one, it's a huge pain to make, so having it just at a facility is generally better, just because it's a consistent, it would be a consistent supply instead of a inconsistent supply. As well, I need sulfuric acid for like 90% of recipes that mean anything, like lithium sulfate and hydrochloric acid and zinc sulfate and all of the like super miserable other stuff. Oh, and yellow cake, whenever I get that. Yellow cake is yummy and like hella radioactive. But the key one is the powdered tungsten carbide, because I need it. If you're curious as to why I need powdered tungsten carbide, it's so I can make tungsten carbide and then the tungsten carbide drill bit, because if I decide to sell them, they're worth a shit ton. If I decide to use them for a mineshaft drill, it'll last longer than the existing steel ones, as I think, technically speaking, I actually outproduce, or I outdrill my steel bits, i.e. I'd have to make another steel mill system for it to continually work. But, logic-wise, basically it's better to have production capabilities than to not. Just gonna bring the pipe network parallel with the waste disposal, and then just try and keep these turns as sharp and hugging as much of my existing stuff as possible, or as needed. If you're wondering why I do pipe turns first, it's so that I have a better grasp of where my next parts are going to go. Sort of like drawing the lines for an art project before you color them in. I mean, that's probably not the best analogy I could come up with, but provided the fact it is just about 01:23 in the morning, and I have to be awake at 5, i.e. I'm getting nap time instead of sleep time today. Well, I'll take some English. I'll accept it. Plus, no one's gonna watch this anyway. It's not like I shared the playlist with anyone. Yeah, people are pretty funny. That Netanyahu guy, I guess Iran was promised to his people like 3,000 years ago. Funny man. I hope he gets drone strike. That'd be really ironic. Yawn. Oh. Really hope that I produce enough to where distribution can take effect, because if it can't, that would kind of suck. I may also want to consider building a new assembly for coke fuel closer to existing sites for things like this. Granted, I'm also probably going to need like way more mining capability, as well as a hole with mineshaft drills, now that I've figured out how to make them. There's a few things I could, I'm sure if anyone actually looks at the videos in sequence, we have HV pulls now, albeit at a very limited capacity. But the key goal here is by the end of next quarter, I want to have a coal power plant with a modular turbine assembly properly running, so that I can produce all the power I would need. I feel like with the power output on that, I'm making like hundreds of MMF a second. Whereas right now I make, I think with a diesel system, about just shy of 50 MMF per second. Which, whilst it's nothing to scoff at, it's not game changing or anything. And it does run at capacity. Granted, it's powering an HV transformer, so there is that. Obviously, it's not bad. It's just underwhelming, I guess, compared to the needs of the future. Well, I think as well part of it, and I was talking to Ethan about this, who the hell am I saying? Yeah, I was discussing it earlier, and it might just be a case of power transfer rate being lesser than the capacity of our power production, and not even close to an issue of power production. I have no way to verify either, as I don't play this game religiously enough to know all the functions and how to check for this stuff. However, I have a very sneaking suspicion that it's definitely possible to where I'm in a case of I just don't transfer the power efficiently, given the fact that I make tons of power compared to when I newly implemented HMPTs. And that, like, the only thing preventing my HMPTs at this point is the fact that they're only capped at like 1.5 power transfer rate, or are capped at a power transfer rate of 1.5 MMF, which is quite low when you're making like 1.4 per generator and you have 40 generators. Naturally there you're gonna run into just not making enough power, or not transferring the power cleanly. But as well, this whole system has just been taking forever for me to actually build, which is kind of embarrassing. It's like, it's stuff I've done before. I know all this stuff. But all I'm really doing is assembling together pieces of equipment I already figured out, like maybe 8 months ago. Probably even more, actually. I've been playing this game for a while, but all I'm really doing is just switching up or expanding volume on recipes. It's not that difficult, if I'm being honest. But you know, purple gold's an actual thing. It's an alloy of aluminium and gold. The issue with it is that apparently it's like super brittle and like a pain in the like genuine pain in the ass to work with, to where most manufacturers only really make it for jewelry, and like it's almost impossible to have like a pure purple gold like ring, for example. Although Nile Red did it, so it is possible. Granted, I'm sure Nile Red could do like just about anything. If I'm being honest, that guy is truly a genius, and also just like lives to pursue knowledge. It's quite admirable, actually. Do you guys know that he's actually from Quebec? Or not from Quebec, but he went to McGill out in Quebec. Apparently, they use some of his videos as like lab safety briefs, which I think is really cool. Still not getting me to go to Quebec for university, or just to university, because I think it's a waste of time. I mean, why would I want to drown in student debt when I could pick up a trade, which I would still be in debt depending on the approach I take, but you know, an apprenticeship with like an actual person, get my journeyman stat, is a lot more desirable to me than, say, going to a trade school, getting my red seal, and being like a couple dozen grand in debt. Like, yeah, it'd be one of the easiest jobs to pay off student debt on account of the fact that you're a tradesman, tradesperson, trade gets a fuck person, and you can charge like obscenely high cost just because you're always going to be in demand. And as you get more and more experience, you also build up like a repeat client base. But Jesus, like trades, I'd rather personally be like a plumber or an electrician than I would a surgeon at a hospital or a nurse. Nurses, I don't envy nurses. They probably have some of the shittiest jobs in the country, and it's not like bad in the sense of the job itself is either like a really low skill or just or low effort. It's that they do so much more than they are actually compensated for, and there's so few of them now because we've had like no good international conversion systems. So it's like, for example, let's look at it like this. If we had someone from, say, we'll go with Venezuela, because it feels like an accurate one given the current situation, both politically and geographically. But let's say we have a doctor from Venezuela that immigrates to Canada, and they were a doctor in Venezuela. It doesn't matter how good they actually are, it doesn't matter how much credentials they have, they have made it such a difficult challenge and pain to convert your qualification here. You still have to take, like, no matter how good or how practiced you are, you have to take requalification more or less in Canada to get the Canadian certificate, which Canada does have way higher standards in regards to healthcare, I suppose, but it's not really fair, I'd say. And they should try and streamline the process. Granted, there's a lot of stuff we should be trying to streamline, like mathematics. Not like school math. I'm talking about the math I'm doing here, because I did all this like a week ago. So I make 9 sulfur dioxide times 6. I guess technically it could be up to plus 7, but we'll just go with the safe option, go 54 every second. Thank goodness. I need 40 every 3. Let's convert these to per minutes. That's going to be 13.3 bar. I love decimals, let alone repeating decimals that go on forever per second, I guess. So 13.3 bar per second. Okay, so if I'm doing my math right, I could probably support at least 2. So that's sulfur trioxide, which goes into a chemical reactor. I might actually do distribution stuff with this, because I feel like I could make use of the lower recipes, especially that distilled water. I could probably just throw it in like a, just convert water into a water treatment plant for distilled water. It's not bad. Or an atmospheric distillation plant's another, it's an easy one. Makes tons of water too. This is going to be sulfur dioxide, so I'll just put 2 oxidation plants in. Where's my... I'll just siphon oxygen from over there. Where's my factory? I remember when I started doing plastic, and this was like so much money to us. And now this is like chump change, 200k per unit. Guess a lot of things change when you're manufacturing so much stuff. Little unvaluable stuff. Chairs and gearboxes were a huge game changer for sure. So I guess technically I could also just direct branch these two. Just another benefit, I guess. I am a bit nervous about the power, because I haven't hooked very many of the machines up. The only ones that actually function are the first set of advanced oil separators. So for all I know, when this starts, I'm just going to lose all my power. I find that super unlikely. It's probably not going to happen, just because of the fact that that would be really depressing and, like, miserable. But then again, crazier stuff has happened, so... Oh, actually, I should probably, do this instead. Yeah, it seems a lot smarter of the play. I guess I probably could have moved the oxidation plant a bit closer as well. But it's not necessarily top of my problems list. I mean, like, space is always going to be a concern, naturally, just because of the fact that there's a finite amount in this world. But I'm probably going to remove the purple gold, the first iteration of the purple gold manufacturing in the near future, just because it's not very economical and I can use that for tungsten carbide, something just generally better, admittedly. Like, I did it. That's what I set out to do that morning, was to get it done. But honestly, I didn't do a very good job. At least I don't think I did. And there's so much I would redo to where you might as well just build a new system at a later point. And as well, closer to the primary method of power for the area, which is going to be this large power plant when it's completed. Just for the sake of better power transfer, because I can directly connect to HV. And then I can also keep the diesel system working the like smaller scale items. I guess like probably the research stations would be a pretty big one. Get more research stations as well with it. And then as well, just I want to try and make it faster, which is only really viable if I redo it from scratch, because right now, that the way I look at it, it's more like that was more like a prototype, to where I was proving that, one, I can make a drill head, because those things are obscenely expensive. Like, I'm not sure, I know at least one person that watches this plays Industrialist, but the drill head recipe is 2,500. 3,500 ingots and 200 seconds on a lathe. And the machine itself, like, I'm gonna need one anyways at some point, so I might as well just place another. But the lathe is not like a low intensity item. This consumes like 130 mmf power. That's probably as much power as this whole thing is going to consume altogether. But that's like, let's see, every 4 of these is 100, so 125, just about 5 and some change oxidation plants is equivalent to 1 of those lathes, which, sure, the lathe has the benefit of making one of the most expensive items in the game, in that I can convert steel, iron, and copper into 20,000, 100 something thousand, and $190,000 parts respectively, and the tungsten carbide drill heads are also worth a lot. But I can make sulfuric acid, which goes into so much more stuff down the road as well, recipe-wise. I could use the oxidation plants to make plastics, which can then be used to make a crap ton of other stuff. I can use the oxidation plants to make all acids revolve around, at some capacity, oxidation plants is the key one. Acids are worth everything. Like, you can't have boric acid without hydrochloric or sulfuric acid, which you need sulfuric acid, generally speaking, for just about every meaningful thing. And chemical reactors are super expensive, so that's kind of off the books for your average person. At least for your not super duper, I'm looking to make a smaller scale thing person. And sulfuric acid has lots of value to it. You can use it to make gold from microchip scraps. You can make lithium sulfates, which you need lithium sulfate for batteries, which themselves aren't worth a lot until you charge them, and then make them into a battery pack, which, might I add, is super easy. I mean, look at that. But you can't have these without sulfuric acid, which cements its value as a mid and late game item. Zinc sulfate you need for zinc, which you can use to make galvanized steel, and look at that. You need that for batteries. Wow. Like hydrofluoric acid. You need that for UF6 gas, which is essential for fuel rods. And if you're getting a nuclear, which I'm not, you need sulfuric acid. You can also use it to make 18 karat gold with rich soil and a gold acid refinery, which is not my first choice. I'd rather just make 24 karat right off the jump with the ore enrichment facility, but well. The key one, like I said, was tungsten carbide. It's essential. You need it. It's like ride or die, basically. And it's definitely going to be die on my end. Tungsten carbide is going to be a huge thing once I unlock it. I have no idea if it's actually going to be as good as I'm like hyping it up to be, but definitely going to be up there. But tangent over, let's get to sulfuric acid again. So on that, sulfur trioxide right now. So I just need chemical reactors next. What I am probably gonna do is figure out how much I'm actually making. Like 40 every 3 seconds. So for every 1, I can power about 4. If my math in my head is right. I'm not writing this stuff down right now. So then I can successfully make 8 chemical reactors for just the basic. Which honestly doesn't sound so bad. Looking at it, I don't know why I would want to use this metal recipe, because that looks like a huge waste. Like 2 sulfuric acid plus 20 sulfur trioxide and 20 water. I guess it's a lot faster. It's half the time, but frankly I'd rather just take the 6-second hit and store it in like silos and stuff as needed. But that'll be my call, I guess. And I should probably make the chemical reactors, which are thankfully T3. So I can afford to place a ton of these because I make 40 every 3 seconds, which is more than enough to power these or supply these indefinitely. So I'm just gonna place a few of them, I guess. So I probably want to leave room for water. Or maybe I should bring the water on the right side of the flow. Might make more sense. I honestly really have no idea if my math is right. It sounds right, but it doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. Okay, 6. I guess I can always remove as needed, which is nice, but I don't know. Something just doesn't sit right, but I know there's no way that I'm wrong in this case. The recipe book is right there. And if I'm wrong, cool, special feature, I guess. I might actually have to start like bulk implementing the power transformers as well, or maybe like just spamming HMVTs for power transfer rate. I don't know the power transfer rate on these transformers, which is kind of funny, I guess. Yeah, okay, got tons of room. I can't choose it. Sucks. That's gonna be miserable. I just... So that's kind of the issue with the existing HMVT infrastructure, is that I maxed out the distance irregardless of like future builds. So theoretically I actually have to build around the power and not build the power around the systems. Which, it's not the end of the world, I'm not gonna like die over it, but it can be definitely annoying. The idea with this is to try and keep as abundant an amount of water as I can, because I would rather have consume a little extra power when I don't need to for my water than deal with the absolute nightmare that would be common piping. Should I be using distilled water? Absolutely. Do I care enough to put up distillation? Absolutely not. You could not pay me enough to just put that stuff in. It's not like I need it. It would be preferred because I could take the third recipe and get more acid out of it. But honestly speaking, like, for all intents and purposes, the amount that I'm producing is plenty. And that's what, 15, 6, 8 times? That, if that's not enough sulfuric acid per minute, let alone per second, obviously with division in mind, then I have no clue what the hell I'm doing with that much acid. That can power probably about 2 or 3 major assemblies and still be partially filling a silo. My concern's also never really been massive amounts of future projects. I'm doing this stuff one project at a time. This next goal is going to be tungsten carbide for a better mineshaft drill, so that I can properly support coal power plant. Thereby, that's what I'm going to do. And if I produce excess sulfuric acid for it, that's great. That means I can support more stuff in the future. If it's just enough, then that's okay too, because that was the goal from the start, is coal power plant. If any of you are curious why I say coal power plant, it's because that's literally what it's called. It's not like, it's different from the starting coal power pack that you would likely get in early game. Like, I know Jackson has some coal power plants, albeit like the really early game ones where you can connect them to like a tiny turbine and get like a little extra power. Those are like puny children's toys compared to what we get late game. We have modular turbines in like mid-late game, so those turbines are huge and require way more steam, way more power, pressurized steam like that, instead of standard steam that we get doing like any other function here. So it's definitely different. Definitely different. Theoretically, though, it is possible to artificially induce those large turbines with gas. I know I rant about gas turbines a lot because I think they're really cool, but unfortunately I'm not quite competent enough with the natural gas stuff in this game, so I couldn't get it to function. Part of it as well is you need the coal power plant itself to actually control the turbines, because you have to like sync them, and you can't. Turbine trips are an actual phenomenon now, and turbine trips suck. I hate it so much. It's so annoying. But you know, life goes on, I guess. What can you do about it? Nominally, by the end of this, I'll have all this powered, and I'll have seen to it that we have some sulfuric acid going into a silo. Just, frankly, it's going to be a long day tomorrow. I'm doing my tax returns, so if you're ever curious as to adult life, it's pretty shitty, guys. I'm gonna be honest. It's like it's filled with ups and downs, obviously, like any regular bit of any life would be, but taxes genuinely are like one of the worst, most annoying things I've ever had to experience. And like, yeah, okay, like they're useful. You need to pay for like transit, hospitals, doctors. They'll be paying my salary soon enough, but even so, it's like income tax was a wartime measure, not a product of development. We just kept it after the war because it was another way to get more money and to rip off the people that live here. Which, no matter how you view it, it's insulting, frankly. Like, sales tax has always existed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, you know. It's just just the rules of people, you know. Bartering, you're gonna get tariffs. And I know tariffs is like a super annoying word right now. People like jerk their fucking knees and they hear that shit, and they like wince in pain when they hear the word tariff, because it is genuinely one of like the most annoying loads of bollocks you'll ever encounter as a person. But frankly, there's always been tariffs. You're never gonna outmaneuver or dodge tariffs. And it's literally import tax, dude. Like, you pay import tax on everything. But income tariff. See, it doesn't sound right, because it's not right. And I know I'm sort of beating a dead horse here at this point, frankly, but it's worth noting, again. I kind of feel bad that I'm, like, barely on the Discord. You know, on one hand, I'd love to be more active and, like, actually contribute something meaningful, but at the same time, I don't really know what I have to contribute anymore. I mean, like, I'm always around for, like, general insight and stuff, but I don't think anybody ever really listens. Who cares? I don't blame them. It's pretty boring shit, really, and most of it is what should be common sense, but I don't really know what I do otherwise. What function I serve. It's not really moral support. Pretty useless for moral support. It's definitely not for my charming personality. It's not a thing. I mean, I don't really play Project Sakai as a group. I mean, it's also, like, really foolish to try and, like, say you have to be doing something to be quote-unquote friends or anything like that, but, you know, I like doing stuff, and kind of saddening in a way, I guess, because I have friends I can go out and do shit with, we're all like obscenely busy. I mean, I guess I am too, with work and the like, but it'd be nice to go out more, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Not sure who I'm trying to say it to, or this rambling is just to keep sanity, but I'll figure that out when I get there. And as that one totally autistic Uma says, that's just the way the carrot crunches. Doesn't this require like a fuck ton of power? That requires a fuck ton of power. I have no clue if I'm actually... Yeah, okay, I thought so. I was gonna say, there's no way that's gonna be MV. Lo and behold, it's not MV, that's high voltage. Fortunately, I have high voltage. The fuck do you mean too far? I literally have the green one connected to the green one. There's no way my shit's too far away. That's what I fucking thought. Pricks. Trying to tell me too far away. The fuck do you mean too far away? I wonder if that reaches. I would imagine so, right? There's no way it doesn't reach. It's like right there. Of course it doesn't reach. Watch it be like just barely out of range. That'd be really, really annoying. What's the range? What's the range on my HV pole? Oh, of course. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm just going to put a transformer there, because I am lazy. And as well, it might actually be better, because I can connect HMVTs to the existing system without shredding my sanity and playing like 100 bajillion HMVT lines, which would also be annoying because of power transfer rate. I may want to connect a water pump to this as well, just so I can work with power transfer rates being slightly better. I don't even know if it's like worth it, honestly. I'm just gonna presume it is until otherwise told, because I need my things to be better. And if this is better, then I'm gonna do it, even if it takes up extra space and volume. And if you're curious as to why I do this for these, even though I like get upset with other people when they do the same thing for other builds, is because this is 3 and not like 100 bajillion pipes that take up several dozen or sometimes even a couple hundred entities. Because that is a huge problem. Whatever do you mean too far away? That is easily... It's right there. I am going to need another one. I know the range isn't like infinite with this friggin' thing, but Jesus. It's pretty bad, if I'm being completely truthful. Alright, there we go. So I now sell liquid nitrogen, liquid argon. Argon's is a pretty good noble gas. And this isn't powered. I need HMPTs. I have said that maybe 100 million times, but I need HMPTs. I guess this quote is usually more so, where's the nearest HMPT, not I need one. But still, I need one. And now I have a new nearest one, which will power all of it, hopefully. Just need to leave that open so I can... Oh man, that is so slow. That's not gonna cut it. I don't think. I mean, I guess the actual consumption rate is quite low, so it shouldn't be too bad, but even so, that's still quite underwhelming. I may want to connect another HV line, because this is only getting 50 mmV, or MMF, which is just not a lot. I really hope this isn't, like, draining the crap out of my main. That would be easily, like, it's draining my power system. And presumably the alternative running that cap with full diesel. The last or last couple of days, because I obviously the area I'm building in right now used to be a major power production site, which was directly powering the existing site before it could power itself. And when I removed it, I didn't replace the power with anything new. But luckily, it looks like all the important 20 generators on the far side there are working. Whole station seems to be functional still, so it's not going to be a concern, I guess. Maybe I'll connect my overflow as well, though. Or not, because the client is too far away, which is, what I say, bollocks. Should probably give it a little bit, though, to make sure these don't, make sure it's just run up. Because run up usually, if it's not running, it's not gonna drain it all. I might have to shift my time frame a bit. This is taking forever. And there's also not really a good way for this to go, I don't think. So over here, this one, yeah, it's just about full, so. Like, obviously it's not running, because of the fact that the oxygen plant isn't connected, but, or I guess it is, technically speaking. Oh, and I produce so much oxygen that I already sold a truck worth. Did you know this oxygen actually pollutes if I dump it? Which is super funny, I find. Yeah, I found another thing too. I guess the HMVTs have a power transfer rate of about 1.5 mmf per power pole. So if I produce more than that per second in energy, I can't do anything with it because there would be no way for me to transfer it. So if my absurdly high number of HMVTs is throwing you off or anything, that's why. Because I need clean power transfer rates, and I probably have the power to supply them, so I'm going to supply them naturally every time. And yeah, realistically, it doesn't make a significant difference, but at the same time, it's this stuff doesn't run as efficiently as I need it to. It's going to be a really bad day for when this stuff is running at capacity. Yeah, as stuff starts to run up and actually start working, maybe something will change. I guess the oxidation plants need to be powered though, so oops. Curious as to why I only have the green one powering this one here. It's because this one's actually overflow and not critical use. So I'm just going to distribute the power lines, and it works. Oh my god, it works. I don't believe it. So assuming I can keep the power up, which I'm sure it will catch up sooner or later, I figured it out, I guess. And I didn't finish the coke fuel part of this. That's super sad, actually. Where's the coke fuel connector? There it is. So I'll convert this into a junction, and I'm done. Technically. So those are firing. These should begin firing soon, hopefully. Sulfur, we got nothingness. It's not the most promising start, I guess, but it's okay. So we know the fuel is fueling. There we go. That's probably not going to help. My eagerness to finish this project and then finish the simple pipe work that quite literally keeps it alive. Like that. Yeah, there we go. So those work. All these should inevitably work once they have the adequate amount of sulfur trioxide and electricity, hopefully. I'm pretty sure the power system should be fine with this. I have no clue why I'm not making steam right now. That's not usually a very good sign. I'm at 18C. Is this just not working, or? This is just not working. That's because I didn't turn on the water pumps. That might be a good start. Running out of numbers. heat. Yep. So these should be picking up. Yup, there we go. That's really good. That's super reassuring, actually. That also means I can use this transformer as a key machine, I guess. Oh, and I guess I could probably put an overflow and silo. Machine oil is super valuable, so I'm not gonna like sell it or dump it or anything. I'm just gonna store it for when I genuinely need that. But yeah, I did it. I got machine oil. That's not mission objective, obviously. The mission objective was chemical reactors making sulfuric acid, which we do. Sulfuric acid manufacturing is in fact successful. This is really good. Not just for like morale or anything, but I've always been in dire need of sulfuric acid, so being able to actually get it now is genuinely one of the most useful advantages that I just achieved here with the morning work. Also means I can probably go to bed and actually nap. I'm probably gonna like to sleep and then wake up in a groggy haze when it's time for Dad to go to work. Joys of only having one car, I guess. I don't recommend have more than two functioning adults in your household. Would recommend just like having two cars, even if one's like a piece of shit beater car, just because like logistically it's way easier to, especially provided like my dad works with concrete, in case you guys don't know. So obviously he does like work sites all over the place, all over the province, well, all over the useful parts of the province, I guess I should say. Places like the new hospital they're putting up, bridges, major infrastructure. And so with that, with his work, obviously he'll be going to the site in a work vehicle, because epoxy doesn't exactly come out of the seats very easily. Doesn't matter what POBS detailing does. But yeah. Then that obviously restricts the car to being at the office all day. So say Mom needs the car, then I guess she has to drive him to work, but obviously that's not always viable. Whereas if we had two cars, we could just, have one car at home, one car at the office, and everything's hunky-dory, as they would used to say. I'm pretty happy I got this done before the end of the week. I've been kind of procrastinating on this because I was really unsure if I would succeed, even though I know this would be a-okay. But yeah, it's been a longer project coming, so it was all but inevitable eventually, I think, is what I'm trying to say. And I make sulfuric acid in mass. Hopefully the layout and work was easy enough to track and make heads or tails of. If you'd like any further in-depth explanations, email me or something, I don't know. At some point I'm pretty sure, I have a feeling I'm going to have like a systems explanation sub-series, I guess, in this, where I actually am conscious and explain the systems in depth, or at least like how they work with each other and how they synergize, I guess, would be the way to describe it. But, yeah, that took me a whole hour to do this tiny section. And pipes. Pipes are definitely a long haul thing. And I guess with this, I'd recommend playing at like 1.5 times speed to 2 times so that you can, watch it all in one sitting. Because frankly, an hour of gameplay is probably not the most entertaining. And I spoke a lot slower today as well, so yeah, I guess that's it. Sayonara, guys. Take care.